multilingual folks got any funny stories where someone didn't expect you to understand them? My friends and I went shopping for clothes at a mall. While I was in the fitting room, two store workers nearby were trash-talking me in Spanish. They were annoyed I was taking too long, called me a stupid gringo foreigner, and kept asking in English if I needed help. They didn't know I had Spanish roots. So when I left the fitting room, I told them in perfect Spanish that I didn't need help. They were mortified. My aunt and I were flying to a resort, chatting at the airport in Finnish while waiting for our flight. My aunt was in a wheelchair due to her broken leg. Note: we're both Finnish, but my aunt's been living in Germany for years and speaks German fluently. I lived there briefly too, but my German isn't as good. Finally, it's time to board. The flight attendant sees my aunt in the wheelchair and offers us to board first. A disgruntled German couple stands nearby. The husband can be heard saying to his wife, "In my opinion, disabled people should be banned from flying on planes altogether." My crazy aunt asked me to slow down. I pushed her wheelchair like... She turns to the man and replies in perfect German, "Excuse me, sir, but no injury can deprive me of my vacation. What you said is highly offensive to people with disabilities. I truly feel sorry for your wife. Have a pleasant flight." Without a word, the man turned red and looked away. His wife was in shock. Although I'm Spanish, you wouldn't know it from my appearance. I have light skin, blonde hair, and green eyes. When I lived in London, I often found myself in amusing situations. My favorite was when I was riding the tube home from work one day. It happened to be the big Chelsea-Barcelona match, and I ended up on the train with a couple of fans headed to the game. At one point, the subway stopped suddenly. I lost my balance and bumped into one of them. Not knowing they were Spanish, I apologized to the guy in English. As we continued, they've been discussing the situation in Spanish for about 5 minutes. They're saying things like, "That fat idiot should have fallen flat on his face." We approach their stop. They exit, still mocking me. Then I yell after them in perfect Spanish, "Nice game, you jerks!" They're shocked. The doors close right in their faces. Man, I was riding that high for probably a week after. Here's the story about my stepmom. She grew up in Japan and speaks Japanese, but looks like a white Italian woman. She's only a quarter Japanese and doesn't resemble typical Asian residents at all. Once, she decided to treat her friends to a girls' day out at a nail salon for manicures and pedicures. The women working at the salon were chatting in Japanese, mostly gossiping about men and such. But when it came to my stepmom's pedicure, they abruptly changed. She's not the slimmest woman and her feet aren't exactly model-like. The workers caught on and started mocking her in Japanese, giggling and enjoying that someone looked worse than them. My stepmom said she didn't want to react at first, but after 5 minutes of non-stop trash talk, she finally responded in their language. "You know, I didn't think this place only served princesses," or something to that effect. The workers' smiles quickly turned into endless guilt. They apologized in English and didn't say another word until the procedure was over. I had a funny experience in Japan. Walking down the street, I heard, "Oh, look how hot he is, and blue-eyed too." My self-esteem shot through the roof. I turned to look at my admirers, but they're just young schoolgirls. Being Asian, they looked even younger. It wasn't so flattering after that. I lived in Korea for a while. One day I went for a haircut. The stylist seats me and preps me. I overhear her telling the main hairdresser, "Wow, he looks like a baby." I was 22, but I did look really young. I asked, "Who looks like a baby?" She got embarrassed and quickly ran off. But the hairdresser realized I understood Korean, so we switched to it. I'm Brazilian, but I've spoken English since childhood. I can pass for American if I don't talk too much. Once I was flying from Atlanta to Rio. At the airport, I met two very pretty girls. They spoke perfect English and were traveling with their mom, I learned. Then they were Americans with Brazilian roots and thought I was just American too. We chatted a bit, exchanged pleasantries. Turns out one girl had a seat next to me. Then we board the plane. As I put my luggage up, I hear their mom say in Portuguese, "Poor guy, he thinks he'll sit with one of you." So I turn to her and reply in Portuguese, "No worries, ma'am. I've got a girlfriend, so I'd be happy to share the flight with your daughters." She was shocked and didn't say a word the whole flight.